Hey guys, Naomi back with IGN's E3 live show streaming at you on e3.ign.com. Our next game is a mutant-filled romp made by Silicon Knights. Watch out for the optic blast because X-Men Destiny is here.
Thank you, Naomi. You could go into the movie theater and see X-Men First Class, but screw that. Let's play a game where we are the X-Men. Thank you so much, Doug, for coming to show X-Men Destiny.
You're welcome, Greg. Thanks.
Tell me, what is the story here in X-Men Destiny? What's happening?
Cool. Well, X-Men Destiny is actually a story that tells the origin stories of 3 brand new mutant characters who are being introduced into the X-Men universe for the very first time. It's a third-person action RPG game set in the, more or less, the current X-Men timeline.
Great. So the X-Men are already established. You're just a new mutant. You're just getting powers.
That's right. So what's cool about that is that you actually get to choose your power and choose your character for the first time in an X-Men game.
Awesome. Let's watch some of it here. Let's see what's going on. Now, when you start off, are you creating characters?
Well, so the game comes with 3 playable characters that you get to choose from. And we've chosen today Aimi, who's a young teenager from Japan, recently arrived to San Francisco.
Okay. What part of the city are we in?
We're actually in Chinatown right now, and this is San Francisco looks a little bit different.
I was going to say, I'm from San Francisco. I've never seen these guys in the BART stations.
No. So San Francisco has actually undergone some changes due to some recent natural disasters, earthquakes, fires, and floods. In addition to the Purifiers, who are a group from the Marvel Universe that are very anti-mutant.
They don't like the mutants.
They don't like the mutants at all. So, recently there's been a large outbreak of hate crimes against the mutants.
Gotcha.
And that's a big part of the plot, is trying to stop the Purifiers, right?
Great. So what are Aimi's powers here?
Okay, so today we've actually selected energy projection as the core power for Aimi. Now this is just one core power out of 3 different core powers you can choose. Energy projection is your ranged class power that you get to choose. Energy projection is light-based, ion-based energy particle projection system that you generate energy from your body and project it out towards your enemies coming on you. Every core power has a basic group of light and heavy attacks that can be combined together into cool finishing moves and different ender combos.
Okay. So now, when I'm playing and I like this power, but I want to get a different one or I want to upgrade it, how does all that work?
Well, upgrading your power is a big part of the game. What we just picked up there is an X gene. Okay. And X genes are, it's the essence of every mutant. It's what makes a mutant, exactly, right? Yeah. The X gene is what you and I don't have.
Damn it. And I look for it all the time, I tell you.
And X genes are based on, the X genes you collect in the game are based on the, well-known franchise characters from the X-Men universe. So, for example, here, we've just picked up one of Surge's X genes. Surge has the ability to control electricity. So now I've adapted my core energy projection power to an electrical energy projection, which, does cool things like not only does it turn my power blue from yellow to blue, it actually adds an electrical stun effect to, my attacks. And other cool moves like chain lightning, electrokinesis are some moves I can do now that I couldn't do before.
Gotcha. Now, once you commit to that power, are you set? Like, you're building your character, is there a way to, respec and go back?
So the core power is set once you choose it. Now, the way you can change that power is by looking for additional X genes throughout the world. You have 3 X gene slots you can fill at any time in the game, and you can mix and match these from all your different favorite characters. So, say I want to use, Wolverine's utility, which is a healing factor. I can combine that with, say, Surge's electrical, and maybe Quicksilver's speed bonus.
Gotcha.
So these are just one example of how you can combine X genes throughout the game.
Now, one of the things you pointed out when I got to demo this game in San Francisco is that just because these powers are there, just because these X genes are there, doesn't mean those characters are in the game, correct?
So the characters are, you can choose between 3 different characters. Each one has a different origin story, different sort of point of contact with the X-Men. And
I've led you astray. I'm talking like we saw the list of like Wolverine, Juggernaut. They're not in the game, right? You can just get their powers.
So, well,
some of them I'm sure are in the game.
We haven't told everybody just yet, but most of the characters you saw on that list are in the game. We're pretty excited about that. It's a big list of characters that you'll meet and interact with throughout the world, and you'll interact with them on a number of different levels. Not only will they fight alongside you at different points in the game, but they'll actually, stop and be able to have conversations with them. They'll open up secondary missions and objectives for you to complete. And by doing these, that's when you, maybe will win the X gene bonus that you're looking for.
You talk about, getting side quests and stuff. How does this game work? Is there a hub world, or am I getting levels? How do I spin out into missions like this one here in Chinatown?
So it's a pretty, a linear narrative gameplay style. You start at, ground zero, which is the ferry building in San Francisco, when there's this huge attack by, unknown forces on this sort of peace rally that's going on. And it's at that moment that your powers manifest for the very first time. You get to choose that core power.
Gotcha.
From there on out, it's sort of a roller coaster ride. You're being, just kind of pulled into this conflict that's going all around you that you had no idea was even going on prior to the start of this game.
Okay.
So there's this really steep learning curve for you as a player, in terms of the narrative to learn about. And again, being that you're a new mutant, you're not aligned with either the Brotherhood or the X-Men at this point in time. And they each have their own way for kind of dealing with this crisis that's going on. And they're, throughout the game, trying to win you over to their side. And it's up to you to decide, am I going to follow the X-Men? Am I going to follow the Brotherhood? It's not set in stone. Not until you get towards the game's climax do you make that choice to go permanently with either the X-Men or the Brotherhood.
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting things for me is when you guys first announced the game, you call it X-Men Destiny because you're choosing your character's destiny. You're
Absolutely.
choosing how you want to align yourself. And then when we got to see this in San Francisco, it ends with you having to make that choice.
Yeah.
And
so it doesn't quite end there. We actually want that to
that's
have
where you
some
ended it for
gameplay.
me. You wouldn't let me see it.
There you go.
Right?
So there's all kinds of choices that you make throughout the game that will lead you towards gaining X-Men and Brotherhood faction points. And what those faction points do is they actually will determine in large part the types of enemies you'll encounter and the types of X-genes that you'll be able to have access to and which characters you'll meet along the way. It doesn't determine your ultimate alliance. So when you come to that moment at in the game's climax, you will still be able to, let's say I've gained faction points towards the X-Men, I can still go Brotherhood if I want.
You don't do that. Don't be pyro about it, all right? Jeez, all right?
It's really up to me, though,
Yeah,
the player to decide.
Now, we're watching the game here. How do you describe it to people? I mean, you got RPG elements in it, but are you calling it just an action game? I mean, beat 'em up kind of thing, go through?
Well, your moment-to-moment gameplay is very much action-driven. I mean, this is a combat game. It's a third-person action game. But it is very much an RPG game as well. You go, powering up your character, leveling up his powers. It's all a big part of the game, and finding those collectibles in the world. One thing I didn't mention was that in addition to the X-genes, you can also discover suits in the world based on your favorite X-Men characters, and you can change the look of your character based on cool new suits. Yeah.
So now, here we go. I don't want to talk over the gameplay. Look at this guy. He's going to get it. What are you doing? Bad guys.
So the guys you're seeing these guys in the yellow jackets, they're they're called externals, and this is these guys work for Gambit. Gambit is kind of the overlord of Chinatown right now, and your quest right now is to find Gambit, he's got some clues as to what is going on with this Purifier conspiracy. So you're trying to find him, and he's got this courier delivering a package of stolen goods to him, and you're protecting this courier so you can win Gambit's trust.
Gotcha. So
what you've got here is Purifiers trying to attack these externals and beat them up, and your job is to ward off the Purifiers.
Now, when you watch it in motion, we're not playing obviously. You have the 20 enemies remaining. That's a very I want to say a throwback, right? Like that's an old school tactic. Why did you guys decide to go that route and have that kind of stuff pop up?
Well, we wanted to. The combat text you see on the screen is a cool feature that we put into the game early on to try to give the players some feedback as to how their progress was going. And just wanted to really give a lot of really bring that sort of fun comic book level of excitement into the game. The game is, it is a darker plot in terms of the X-Men. X-Men usually go a little bit darker, right?
Yeah,
in
of
terms
course.
Of comic book,
well, their whole thing
books.
is being persecuted.
But they're still a comic book. They're still superheroes. And we wanted to give a lot of player feedback, and that was one way that we were able to give that kind of feedback to the player.
They said it's pretty much in current continuity of comics.
It's more or less. Games you always have to adapt a little bit to make it a fun and intriguing game. So there are going to be some details that are going to stray from where the comic books are currently. And fans, please forgive us for doing that. But we're really trying to make the best game we can, and we try to stay as true as we can to what's going on in the universe.
Have you been talking to Marvel? I mean, is there any chance that they might come by, like these characters might show up in comics?
That remains to be seen. Hopefully fans are, fall in love with these characters and find them to be as fun and as exciting as we do, and the sky's the limit from there.
Great. So you want to talk about? I mean, what are some of the boss types you're going to run into? Like right now, this is like a mini boss guy with a giant flamethrower. Are you going to run into mutants who are as powerful as you, a little bit more huge hulking guys?
We won't show you today, but there is a really cool encounter with Gambit that you do have. In order to win his trust over, you've got to do have to fight him.
You went to teases, Doug, I tell you. When's X-Men Destiny come out?
It's coming out this September on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Nintendo Wii and DS systems.
All right, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, you're
Ladies
welcome.
and gentlemen, don't go away. We got so many more games coming. X-Men Destiny here. Let's kick it back to my Jean Grey Naomi.
Thanks, everybody. Someday I just might join the X-Men myself. Speaking of which, if you guys could have a mutant power, what would it be? Let us know by following IGN on Twitter and using the hashtag #MutantPower. Coming up next, we're going to see a new action RPG from the mind of R.A. Salvatore. Get set for Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.